what Robinhood itself has, about 1.3 billion in alts. And if you exclude some of these and then you minus and you do some simple math, they have roughly about 600 million. So did they just dump themselves, or did all their retail people dump? Did the hedge funds or money makers that are connected to them dump? Probably. I mean, everyone dumped, it seemed like today, right? On top of a weak market already. So that is, I believe, what happened. It's pretty clear. As for why Matic is down 26%, worse than even Solana and Avalanche, is because you have millions upon millions sent to Binance and Coinbase ahead of the slide. So again, who sent it? No one knows, right? Obviously, big whales could be market makers, could be institutions, right? You got a lot of people that are very panicked right now, and they're just like dumping it all. That's exactly what happened, right? Here's another one, Cumberland. I don't know if they're like a market maker, but they just dumped 9 million in Matic, and yeah, they dumped 14 million Matic everywhere. I mean, so there's a lot of these guys that are just really panicked over what SEC is doing in the US. Polygon itself, in case you guys are wondering, Polygon is still one of my favorite L2s, L1s, L2s. You still have so much happening. Mark Cuban is going to release his book on Polygon. Polygon's active address and volume is increasing. You got tons of brands that's on top of it and still coming to it. They're growing their gaming ecosystem out. So there's still a lot of goodness on Polygon. The Hinman documents will be releasing today. If not, maybe it's already released. I haven't seen it yet. But this could be huge and could have put a big blow towards SEC and Gary Gensler. The SEC fought very, very, very hard to keep these documents sealed, not releasing them to the public. Because if it does, basically it's too late now. I mean, it is going to be released, but their original thinking was this is going to cause a lot of confusion and make it harder for the SEC to basically determine what's a security and what's not, because they wanted to be able to control that narrative. They don't want the public, they don't want other projects to be able to use actually what was discovered in here in terms of what is a security and what's not, specifically pertaining to Ethereum, which was declared by Hinman, a previous director, to be a non-security, to be a commodity, right? But what was his thoughts behind that? What made him conclude that? SEC did not want anyone else to know, right? Just like right now, Gary does not want to answer if ETH is a security. So this should be absolutely huge. Brad Garlinghouse said it himself, right? We waited 18 months, and I believe it's well worth the wait. Basically, there will be a lot that's coming out of here, and this should allow Ripple to finally win the case and allow other projects to defend themselves. And right now, there is a turf war, too, between the CFTC and SEC. Gary, again, the tyrant at top, wants to do whatever he wants. CFTC, another U.S. agency, is like, no, you can't do that. We also play responsibility with safeguarding users and providing regulations for certain entities, right? Commodities. But if you declare everything is security, and of course CFTC has nothing to regulate. So Brian Armstrong is saying, yeah, that's why there's a turf war going on, right? And even the House Republicans look to referee the CFTC SEC crypto turf war, because again, there is a turf war, and SEC, Gary Gensler, is declaring everything is security. Well, how convenient. At least the House is trying to come up with a way to come up with a framework, right, that fairly divides the policing power to both agencies. And since the lawsuit, Binance.US not looking good. Market depth declined 76%, mostly because banks have refused to work with Binance.US anymore. So it has dropped quite a lot. And even Binance said that SEC, they filed a temporary restraining order to lock all assets. If that was successful, Binance.US will go under, right? That's pretty serious. So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, they enlisted some all-star lawyer that used to work for the SEC, worked for a long time in the SEC, and they will, of course, fight this. Headline news today is, of course, USDT depegging. Now, the good news is USDT is so big. When people say depeg, it's just slightly off, and there's plenty of money in the Tether bank to kind of cover it. But you could see, yeah, it did depeg from that $1. It went all the way down to 99.9958. So it's still less than a cent depeg. And right now it's 99.78. But what caused the depeg? There's always been a lot of fun around Tether, right? And I still don't trust Tether fully. I told you guys that. But anyways, Tether is the largest. And recently they got larger because some FUD around USDC, right? With Silvergate, that actually gave them more momentum. But today they depegged slightly. Why? Why did they do that? Or why did it happen? Supposedly there's some whale that started to play some games. Okay, and I think the end game was to make profit, not to try to depeg it or crash it. But, you know, there's people that's been monitoring the situation. So you got this guy that deposited about 52 million USDC and borrowed 40 million of USDT and then deposited that into Coinbase and Kraken, okay, and then withdrew more USDC, depositing USDC. So they kept depositing USDT. First of all, they borrowed a whole bunch of USDT. And then what did they do? They put it into Aave, and then it shorted the hell out of it. Okay, so with Aave, I didn't even know you could short USDT, which makes kind of no sense. You shouldn't be able to short a stablecoin, but somehow you can. So basically, this whale took a ton of money, borrowed USDT with his USDC, and then threw it on Aave and started shorting the hell out of it. Okay, maybe with, I think probably with the curve pair or something like that. So that's exactly what happened. So you got one guy that's probably playing games, trying to make a quick buck, and played a very dangerous game, putting $50-something million into it. There were a lot of curve was depegging, not depegging, but the price was dropping by a lot. Okay, there was a lot of worry because of all the USDT shorting. Curve founder borrowed $110 million in stable coins against all his Curve to try to stabilize it and not cause it to go down, because if it goes down, then $131 million worth of Curve would have been liquidated and it would have caused a lot of pain. I mean, so that was the situation, I guess, trying to put it together. I don't quite understand everything that happened, but it just seems like, yeah, that's what happened. I mean, this is the type of games that happened with with UST, I should say, and Luna on a much larger scale. This is on a much shorter scale, or smaller scale, I should say. But overall, things are recovering. The news everyone is still talking about is BlackRock, and Charles Hoskinson from Cardano is no fan of it. In fact, he's not just a fan, he's just calling out Bitcoin maxis now. Charles tweeted this last night. Bitcoiners defending BlackRock is all you need to know about their ethics, mental state, and greed. See, that's not really fair, okay? First of all, there's a lot of Bitcoiners out there. Second of all, there are Bitcoiners out there that hold Cardano too. So I don't know. Charles seemed like he was in a bad spot at the time, but I certainly don't think that all Bitcoiners think this is the greatest thing on earth, right? Now, I did hype it up too. I think if BlackRock gets a Bitcoin spot ETF, it will bring trillions of dollars in from the institutions, right? But I also recognize and said that this is just short term. Long term, of course, no one wants institutions like BlackRock to be controlling Bitcoin, right? But short term, it's going to be a good thing. And as retail investors, what do? I've been telling you guys to DCA and HODL, right? DCA and HODL. You want to get in while things are cheap. That's what these big institutions are doing. They have already started. I mean, you guys know that, yeah, there's a lot of companies that have bought in